The North American trade landscape was jolted in a way not seen in decades, sending shockwaves through industries and markets on both sides of the border. For years, the US and Canada have enjoyed one of the world's most robust trading partnerships, with billions of dollars in goods and services flowing seamlessly each day. But that sense of stability was suddenly shattered. The disruption began when President Trump, in a surprise move, announced a sweeping 10% tariff on all Canadian goods via a post on Truth Social. The announcement, made without prior warning or consultation, caught both governments and businesses off guard. The message was clear: the era of predictable trade between the two nations was over, at least for now. This unexpected move immediately suspended ongoing trade negotiations, throwing months of careful diplomacy and planning into uncertainty. Businesses that depend on cross-border commerce found themselves in disarray, scrambling to understand the new rules and how they would be affected. Newsrooms buzzed with headlines about the sudden halt in talks, while warehouses and factories braced for the impact. Industries that rely on the smooth, uninterrupted flow of goods between the US and Canada, such as automotive, agriculture, and manufacturing, were forced to react quickly. Logistics teams worked overtime to reroute shipments, while factory managers adjusted production lines in anticipation of delays and increased costs. The lack of specifics about which Canadian goods would be targeted only heightened the anxiety. Business owners pored over documents and news reports, trying to decipher what the tariffs would mean for their bottom lines. Many feared that the uncertainty itself could be as damaging as the tariffs, making it difficult to plan for the future. The disruption threatened to unravel the intricate supply chains that have been built up over decades, putting at risk not just profits, but jobs and economic stability across North America. Ports and assembly lines slowed, and the ripple effects began to spread to related industries. The housing industry, already grappling with high costs and supply shortages, braced for even more expensive Canadian lumber. Builders and contractors worried that new home prices would rise, making housing less affordable for many Americans. Sawmills and hardware stores prepared for a surge in demand and possible shortages. The announcement served as a stark reminder of just how interconnected the global economy has become. A single policy decision in Washington could send ripples across continents, affecting trade routes, business deals, and economic forecasts worldwide. As the dust settled, businesses and policymakers alike began to ponder the long-term implications for US-Canada trade relations. Would this be a temporary setback, or the start of a new era of economic tension? For now, uncertainty reigns, and the future of North American trade hangs in the balance. In a bold and unexpected move, a Canadian advertising campaign featured a clip of former US President Ronald Reagan delivering a passionate anti-tariff speech. The ad, which aired widely across Canadian television networks, was intended to highlight the shared economic interests between Canada and the United States and to appeal to American values of free trade. However, the use of Reagan's iconic image and words quickly caught the attention of political leaders south of the border, including then-President Donald Trump. The ad's message, meant to foster goodwill, instead sparked a heated response from the White House. President Trump publicly accused Canada of attempting to sway American public opinion, and even suggested that the ad campaign was an effort to influence a pending US Supreme Court decision related to trade. While the specifics of Trump's claims remained vague, his administration's rhetoric escalated tensions, and the controversy quickly became a headline story in both countries. The Ronald Reagan Presidential Foundation swiftly issued a statement condemning the ad, arguing that it misrepresented Reagan's actual views on trade and tariffs. The foundation emphasized that Reagan's legacy should not be used to serve contemporary political agendas, especially in international disputes. In response to the mounting backlash, Ontario officials decided to pause the ad campaign. However, their public statements were inconsistent, with some officials defending the ad's intent while others acknowledged it may have been a misstep. This lack of clarity only added to the confusion and uncertainty surrounding the situation. Ultimately, the ad campaign backfired. Instead of easing trade tensions, it provided the Trump administration with further justification to adopt a more aggressive stance on tariffs and cross-border trade. The controversy led to increased scrutiny of Canadian exports and heightened economic uncertainty. This episode served as a stark reminder of the risks involved when media campaigns intersect with international diplomacy. What began as a well-intentioned effort to promote cooperation ended up fueling mistrust and complicating already delicate negotiations between two close allies. Canadian officials urged a return to negotiation after Trump's tariff threat. Prime Minister Carney emphasized progress in trade talks before the halt. Canada stressed diplomacy and the value of the USMCA for economic stability. Despite calls for calm, previous U.S. tariffs had already impacted Canada's economy. The situation required Canadian leaders to balance protecting interests without provoking the U.S. Existing U.S. tariffs on building materials were already raising costs. Tariffs on Canadian lumber and other goods were set to increase further. The construction sector faced escalating costs and uncertainty. Canadian lumber tariffs exceeded 45%, unlike lower tariffs on other countries. This disparity highlighted the uneven impact of U.S. trade policies. The housing market faced higher costs, complicating homeownership for Americans. The White House defends tariffs as a necessary measure to protect U.S. manufacturers from what it perceives as unfair competition from foreign markets. By imposing these tariffs, the administration aims to bolster domestic production and ensure that American jobs are safeguarded. The belief is that by creating a level playing field, U.S. industries can thrive without being undercut by cheaper imports. This policy is seen as a way to revitalize American manufacturing and keep jobs within the country. However, critics argue that these tariffs have unintended consequences, particularly in the construction industry. They claim that the increased costs of materials, such as lumber and steel, are driving up the prices of new homes, making them less affordable for average families. This inflation in construction costs is seen as a barrier to homeownership, especially for first-time buyers. The ripple effect of these tariffs is felt across the housing market, where affordability is already a pressing issue. Industry groups are sounding the alarm, warning that the residential building sector could face significant job losses if the tariffs continue. They argue that higher material costs lead to reduced construction activity, which in turn results in fewer jobs for construction workers. Labor unions in the building industry are particularly concerned about the long-term impact on employment and are calling for a re-evaluation of the trade policies. Retailers, including giants like IKEA, are also feeling the pinch. The tariffs have led to higher costs for imported goods, which disrupts supply chains and forces retailers to raise prices for consumers. This situation creates a challenging environment for businesses that rely on international trade as they struggle to maintain competitive pricing while absorbing increased costs. The debate over tariffs is a contentious one, pitting protectionist policies against concerns of broader economic harm. Politicians and economists are divided, with some advocating for the benefits of protecting domestic industries, while others warn of the negative impact on the economy as a whole. Protests and public discourse highlight the deep divisions on this issue as stakeholders from various sectors voice their opinions. The housing market finds itself at the center of this significant economic policy battle. As the debate rages on, potential homebuyers and sellers are left in a state of uncertainty, unsure of how these policies will ultimately affect their financial decisions. Real estate agents and developers are closely monitoring the situation, aware that the outcome could have lasting implications for the housing industry. The outcome of this policy debate will not only shape the future of U.S. trade, but also have a profound impact on domestic industries. As cargo trucks move across borders and factories continue their operations, The nation watches closely, understanding that the decisions made today will influence the economic landscape for years to come. The balance between protecting American jobs and ensuring economic growth remains a delicate one, with far-reaching consequences. Tariffs on goods like lumber and cabinets raise costs for American consumers. Retailers pass these costs to customers, leading to price hikes. Home builders face increased material costs, affecting project affordability. The tariffs add financial strain amid a competitive housing market. Retailers must navigate higher costs while remaining competitive. The tariffs create uncertainty, impacting small businesses and families. The Canada tariff is part of Trump's broader global trade agenda. Tariffs are used to renegotiate trade relationships worldwide. The U.S.-Canada relationship is strained, with disputes beyond lumber. The USMCA's stability is threatened by potential U.S. policy changes. This aggressive trade posture creates global economic uncertainty. The tariffs symbolize a shift in U.S. foreign and economic policy. The U.S.-Canada trade relationship faces uncertainty with suspended talks. A potential meeting at the ASEAN summit could de-escalate tensions. Core issues remain unresolved, requiring political will for progress. Canada's readiness to negotiate contrasts with U.S. demands. The dispute highlights the fragility of international relations. The path forward requires diplomacy and compromise to prevent further economic damage. Tariffs on Canadian goods threaten housing affordability. Prospective homebuyers face higher costs, delaying home ownership dreams. Home improvement projects become more expensive, affecting small businesses. The tariffs risk harming the housing market while protecting other sectors. The future depends on political choices and international diplomacy. The story of tariffs is about the impact on families and the economy.